K.Luke batch number 7 sits here in front of me today. Guys, as I stated before in some of my previous reviews, K.Luke stock just continues to rise. Just as quick as they go on to some of those online retailers, they are sold out almost instantly. They do an amazing job of blending those high and low rye mash bills from Kentucky and Indiana. This one, again, batch 7 coming in at 116.4 proof. There just may be a K.Luke batch or two in my top 10 whiskeys so far this year. Where will this batch 7 land? Let's find out. All right, guys, so as I stated, this is a blend of high and low rye mash bills coming at 116.4 proof. Let's get the nose. Yeah, so further away from the glass, I do pick up a lot of that traditional kind of caramel, vanilla. There's some nutmeg there further away from the glass. Further into the glass, it almost reminds me of like a Cracker Jack. And then there's a very slight hint of some earthiness there, some earthy tones. Another thing that kind of comes through there a little bit further into the glass is like this, almost like this peppered kind of fruit. Like there's a peppery kind of aroma that I start to pull out there, and again, that could be leaning more towards some of that rye influence. It's more of like a red fruit more than anything else. Still further away from the glass is still a lot of those traditional kind of aromas, those caramels, vanillas, a little bit of some nutmeg in there, but that like Cracker Jack peppery kind of red fruit there further into the glass is definitely unique. Definitely separates itself from some of the rest of the batches this year. Let's get the Palate, guys. Cheers. Wow, so this one has some really cool like spiciness to it. Not so much. There is a little bit of like some black pepper there that makes its presence on the middle of the palate, but it almost reminds me of a spice cake. There is that that cake kind of note, but then there's also a lot of these different spices that are coming through. There is like I don't know if it's a raspberry, if it's a little bit of like maybe some apple maybe there on the middle of the palate with some of that pepper as it kind of flows through into the back. Front came off a little sweet. Again, a lot of those caramels and vanillas, your traditional kind of notes there on the front of the palate. But something that I really didn't get a lot of on some of the other batches, there's actually a decent amount of oak presence on the palate on here. And it doesn't come off bitter. It doesn't come off any kind of like, sharp kind of oaky notes, but there's definitely a little bit of oakiness on the palate on this one. I like that, more towards like the back. It's a good first sip, guys. Get a second one. Yeah, I feel like this batch 7 it provides some darker kind of notes to it than some of the other ones. Again, it goes. I like the way it transitions across the palate too, because it starts out kind of sweet. It almost has that Cracker Jack kind of flavor on the front of the palate, and as soon as it hits the middle of the palate, it turns into this spice cake with like allspice. There's some baking pepper in there. Maybe again a little bit of that black pepper, which is kind of bringing forth that rye influence. And then into the back of the palate, slight hint of some leather. There is definitely some oak presence in there. It's almost in between like a sweet and kind of dense oak, right? There's not a lot of sharpness to it. There's not a lot of sharpness to those pepper kind of notes, but it lingers around the palate for a while. I really like this batch. This is good. Let's get a last sip, guys. Cheers. Definitely some of those leather notes and those oaky notes there on the back, and it's almost a beautiful balance between like some dense oak and some sweet oak, but it's not like one or the other. It has a beautiful mixture there towards the back of the palate. Front of the palate still offering like that Cracker Jack kind of sweetness. Middle of the palate offering some of that rye spice. There's definitely some more baking spices in there, because you can feel that like grabbing a hold of your tongue there on the center of the palate. But then on that very last sip, it's like having a spice cake with like some lemon squeeze over top of it. So the citrus notes made their presence on the third sip, not on the first and second, but on the third. So I feel like maybe as some of that spiciness kind of died down across the center of the palate, some of that citrus kind of made itself present there. It's almost like a lemon orange wedge there. It's just, it can't really differentiate which one it wants to bring forth. But fantastic batch 7 here by K.Luke. So I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. I want to give a big shout out to the team over at K.Luke for supplying with this sample here to review on the channel. Guys, K.Luke, another home run with this batch number 7. Again, guys, their ability to blend, when you throw some places in some conversation about some blenders, K.Luke has to be somewhere in the top of that list. Some of the stuff that they're doing is absolutely fantastic. As of right now, there could be 1, 2 batches in my top 10 whiskeys of the year, and I think a lot of people feel the same way about that. Batch number 7, if you guys are able to go and find it anywhere, I highly, highly recommend you guys pick this one up. Again, it does lean more towards that darker side of some of these recent K.Luke batches. So guys, if you're looking for more reviews like this, hit that subscribe button and bell notification to be alerted of any upcoming reviews or live streams. You also find me on Instagram at Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. Till next time, guys, stay dusty.